All right.
All right, we got Sigma playing Lytra once again in the yellow versus Zested playing Zawan, and this is the finals of the second Open qualifier. So I'm very curious to see how this is going to go. It took a little while to play out this finals, but I think that option was available. Like once you get into the finals of the earlier qualifiers, like there isn't as much of a rush to finish because both players are already qualified. They're just playing for seeding, and the main event is still over a month away at this point, so they had time. And this is an interesting matchup as well. Zested is someone who I'm not really surprised to see in the finals for something like this. Zested, historically very strong player. But Sigma kind of came out of... It feels harsh to say nowhere, but like they kind of did. Like I hadn't really heard of them before this event, and then they beat really good players to get here, so... And not only did they beat a really good... Like, they beat Warble to get here, and Warble had just beaten Master at that point, so...
So Sigma better than Master by by transitive property.
I mean, as far as seeding for the main event goes, yeah, that is correct. Like, they will be going into the event as the higher seed, so... But I'm really curious, because, I mean, another thing as well is they've been playing a lot of Lytra, and Lytra is not a commander people have considered to be good. Like, at all, really.
Well, I think, like, part of Lytra's power is how unexplored she is. And so when you're facing Lytra, you don't know what to look out for. So you're like, for example, do you want to hit Lytra with a harpy when she's next to a village? You have to ask yourself, like, not only because like the option for Lytra is there to spin your harpy into a village and kill it, but you have to ask yourself, does my opponent think that's worth it?
Yeah.
And because there is no like consensus on Lytra for like, oh, if you have at least 200 groove points, then it's not worth it to go for a harpy kill. We don't know that, so that uncertainty is actually a weapon for Lytra, because are you going to risk it? And then now you can get into mind games, or like maybe it's not worth it, but you want to do it to make your opponent believe that it's worth it. And there's a bunch of stuff like that with Lytra. And I think like if you want to play Lytra, probably now is the best timing. Once people explore Lytra more, it's not gonna be as fun.
Oh, we're seeing Song Cyclone for one night.
Alright. For nitrate, nice. And now the night count is flipped. It was supposed to be like 2 nights each, but now it's 2 nights for one player and 1 for the other. It didn't talk much about the openings. I think Zested is more familiar with the opening. We saw like Zested do a trick with the exchange depot where like they transformed a sword into a riverboat and then transformed that riverboat into a knight to go after the corner.
But there was a moment when Sigma held both lumber mills, which I think is actually quite significant. If you can do that for one turn and cut on both, which I think they did, then you get a big boost in economy, and we see a dragon come out because of that, so...
Yep. Alright. So this fight is not going probably as well as Sigma would have wanted, since they invested their tier 1 groove into it, but Lytra tier 1 comes back up pretty fast.
Yeah, 43% right now, so...
Yep, it's only 100 groove points. And I guess Lytra is like, has an advantage over Zawan, where like Zawan wants to groove with his army, but Lytra is one of the more creative grooves. Like you can groove both your opponents and your own unit.
Oh, and they're just gonna stand and fight. I guess it makes sense. This is the one turn where those spears aren't gonna be lined up for a crit. So we're gonna see.
And I mean, this is a good area for Lytra to fight, right? Like, there's a bunch of water and villages, so the groove can get a lot of views. But
This
there's
might
also
be.
beaches, so that happens. And
Oh, this might just be
witch
death.
from the tower. Oh, and that spear is gonna take its revenge and suicide into Lytra, I think.
Yeah, I'm kind of. I would have thought it would
Oh,
do it
never
first.
mind.
Oh,
Sets
never
up a
mind.
crit. Yeah, that's more damage. Wait, is that? That's not enough.
Yeah, that isn't enough. I think
Don't
that
worry.
could have been death.
Nature's cry.
Oh, wait. Is
Uh,
there gonna be like a vine kill? No?
nope, that's down tier one. Alright, not quite enough. Only
Uh,
suicided a dog, so it's not like the biggest loss. And now Lytra's also in an awkward position, to say the least.
yeah, I mean, she can cut that
Ooh,
forest.
healing
Ooh.
on that village. That's
Oh, well, I guess
yeah. I
mage,
guess
but
2 mage heals have to be spent. But Lytra is still next to that beach tile.
oh,
And now there's a bunch more units that are low HP from last turn.
does this knight suicide though? That is a
And
question.
I expect it does from the beach.
Oh, yep.
Oh no. And now the spear crit happens before the suicide, and now the other spear can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, she's just very dead at this point. Axe comes in, 44% life. Yeah, and 2 open sides. Yeah, you're just very dead at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Zawan can hit, so
Yeah.
that's a big chunk of the damage requirement.
Oh, lives on
Oh,
1. Was
are
it
we gonna
1%?
see
Yeah,
it overkill by like 43%?
something like that. I mean, Zawan was a little bit injured himself, but yeah, that was a questionable choice to stand and fight there. I think you pull back, you heal off the lumber mill.
But I mean, the lumber mill was low too, so it's not. I mean, maybe there wasn't any safe tiles, and Zested just, you know, played it, like set up the 2-turn lethal perfectly.
Yeah, well, nicely done there by Zested. It was a fun game. I think Sigma had some interesting ideas. Taking both like lumber mills in the center, you know, that's obviously like a nice play. I think the Lytra groove they spent wasn't the best though. It looked quite nice at the beginning, but the injured knight just walked back and healed, and they lost their own knight for it. So yeah, a little bit of a rough one, but
Yeah, and I mean that's part of what I was talking earlier with like the uncertainty of Lytra groove. Like it looks good for the Lytra player too, but you know sometimes it actually wasn't.
Zest is going to take the first game in this finals, and we're going to see, you know, can Sigma pull it back?